Welcome to Rise Within Channel. I'm glad you're here. What you're about to hear is not just content, it's a conversation and life lesson. One that I hope meets you exactly where you are and leaves you somewhere better. Let's begin. Episode 11, The Cost of Fitting In When You Were Born to Stand Out. There is a particular kind of exhaustion that has nothing to do with how much you slept. It is the exhaustion of performing, of waking up every morning and putting on a version of yourself that was designed for other people's comfort, of laughing at things that don't move you, of staying quiet when everything inside you wants to speak, of making yourself palatable, predictable, and small enough to avoid making anyone uncomfortable. This exhaustion is epidemic, and most people have lived with it for so long they have forgotten it isn't normal. Today we are going to talk about the cost of fitting in and what becomes possible the moment you stop. Part 1. The conformity trap. From the moment we enter school, we are sorted, graded not just on what we know but on how well we comply, how quietly we sit, how neatly we color inside the lines, how effectively we suppress the instincts that make us distinct in favor of the behaviors that make us manageable. This is not a conspiracy. It is simply what institutions require to function. But the side effect, the deep, lasting side effect, is a generation of adults who learned at a very young age that standing out was dangerous, that being different was a liability, that the safest strategy was to watch the group and mirror it as closely as possible. The psychologist Solomon Asch conducted a now-famous series of experiments in the 1950s. He put people in rooms with actors and asked them simple perceptual questions. Which line is longer? The answers were obvious. But when the actors unanimously gave the wrong answer, a startling 75% of real participants gave the same wrong answer at least once, not because they couldn't see the truth, but because the social pressure to conform was stronger than their trust in their own perception. We are wired for conformity, but we were not built for it. And the gap between what our wiring demands and what our soul requires, that is where the exhaustion lies. Part 2. What fitting in costs. The price of fitting in is paid in installments, small, almost invisible payments made daily, weekly, across years. Each one seems negligible. Together they amount to a life, the opinion you didn't share because you didn't want to seem difficult, the creative idea you kept private because you were afraid it would be laughed at, the career path you didn't pursue because it didn't fit the template of what people like you were supposed to do. The friendship group you stayed in long past the point it nourished you because leaving would have been uncomfortable for everyone. Every one of those choices was a payment, made from the account of your authenticity. And authenticity, unlike money, cannot be replenished by working harder. It is replenished only by honesty, by the willingness to be seen as you actually are. Howard Thurman, theologian, philosopher, and mentor to Martin Luther King Jr., asked one of the most important questions of the 20th century. Don't ask what the world needs. Ask what makes you come alive and go do it, because what the world needs is people who have come alive. Not people who have perfectly fitted in, people who have come alive. Part 3, the person underneath here is what I believe and what I have seen confirmed in story after story of people who finally stepped into their own truth. The person underneath the performance is not dangerous. They are not too much. They are not unlovable or unemployable or destined for rejection. They are interesting. They are specific. They have a perspective that nobody else has because nobody else has lived exactly their combination of experiences, losses, passions, and questions. That specificity, that irreducible particularity is not a flaw to be managed. It is the whole point. The world already has plenty of people who fit in. What it is short of, what it is desperately, urgently short of, are people who are fully, courageously, unapologetically themselves. Steve Jobs did not build Apple by fitting in. He built it by being so stubbornly, specifically himself, that the world eventually had to reorganize around his vision. Maya Angelou did not become one of the most important voices in American literature by softening her truth to fit someone else's comfort. Malala Yousafzai did not change the conversation about girls' education by staying quiet. Every person who has ever made a real difference did so by refusing, at some crucial moment, to disappear. Part 4. Coming home to yourself. The return to yourself is not dramatic. It does not usually happen in a single revelation. It happens in small moments of honesty. The first time you say what you actually think and nothing bad happens. The first time you pursue what you actually want and discover it was possible all along. The first time you let someone see the unedited version of you and they lean in instead of pulling back. Each of those moments builds a kind of courage that fitting in never could. The courage of someone who has discovered that their real self, the one underneath all the performance, is actually someone worth being. We are going to the closing. You were not born to spend your one life performing for other people's comfort. You were born with something specific, a perspective, a voice, a way of seeing the world that is entirely yours and entirely necessary. The cost of fitting in is the suppression of that thing, and the world cannot afford it. More importantly, you cannot afford it. The person you have been making yourself small to accommodate, they will survive your authenticity, and you will finally get to live. Before you go, carry this with you today. To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. Until next time, keep rising.
Please subscribe to my channel and leave a comment. We can grow together.